Thank you all for joining another exciting day of continuing our Srimad Bhagavatam. We should actually congratulate ourselves every day because we're actually, what seems like almost impossible task, right? To read the Srimad Bhagavatam, 12 volumes, 18,000 verses. How are we ever going to get through this? But we're almost
we're almost there.
We're almost there, yes. Especially in India, like if you go around, like for example, Govardhan Hill, it's devotees actually circumambulate, right? So like sometimes it's like 22 kilometers.
So you can think of this Bhagavatam reading as circumambulating Krishna.
Yeah.
Because this Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. And it's 12 miles. You can think 12 cantos are 12 miles. And we are already on the first mile going strong.
Going strong, right? Yeah. And, and so, when you ask the local devotees, like sometimes somewhere along the way, you get really tired and you don't know how much further it is. So you ask the locals like, okay, how much further is it? And they'll say, you're almost there. You're almost there. It's just right around the corner. And of course, it's not right around the corner, but then it gives you so much impetus that, yeah, I can do it, So we're almost there.
So far, yesterday we read how Draupadi gives her 6 reasons why Ashwatthama should not be killed. She gives the reason of proper etiquette, how to treat a Brahmana, empathy for the mother of Ashwatthama, also it's not good religious principle. Gratitude for Dronacharya. So like that she gives, and this is kind of in any conflicting situations, even if we can apply even one of those principles, we'll be very powerful. We'll be able to resolve a situation so much faster.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true, right? Like she's showing what it means to be a spiritually elevated person, right? It's amazing. These qualities, you cannot fake it. You can fake everything else. You cannot fake this, right? This ability to tolerate and forgive and to still be compassionate.
And at the same time, one may say that I don't have these qualities, then how do I do it? So we practice them. So this is the stage of practicing. The first thing is to become aware of them. Okay, and then practice them. So even if you're not able to do it, say in a situation comes up, but we can always go back and respond with any of these 6 qualities. And that will really help us evolve as a spiritual person, as a human being. And it will create such an impact on whoever is around us.
What are you doing? Okay, so let's. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudere Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki
Sutta Vacha Dharmam Nyayam Sakarunam Nirvyalikam Samam Mahat Raja Dharma Suto Ragya Pratyananda Dvacho Vija.
Sutta Goswami said, O Brahmanas, King Yudhishthir fully supported the statements of the queen, which were in accordance with the principles of religion and were justified, glorious, full of mercy and equity, and without duplicity. So this is actually another really, really important word here is duplicity. Nirvyalikam, which means that without duplicity. So what does that mean? What is this word without duplicity in this particular case? What does it mean?
Such statements by Draupadi are without duplicity because actions should be taken with full knowledge. The feeling of equality was there because Draupadi spoke out of her personal experience.
Because it was backed up by knowledge, that's why it was without duplicity.
And she was not thinking of something for herself. Normally we become duplicitous when we have some hidden agenda, which we try to hide, but we're not comfortable showing it.
Actually, just yesterday, I was reading in this great book called the Mana Siksha, which means Instructions to the Mind by Raghunath Das Goswami. And he talks about this pride. And he says that he actually compares pride to an unchaste lady who's dancing within the courtyard of the heart. And she's dancing with her paramour, and her paramour is duplicity. Kutanati, right? Because why? Because in order to protect this face, this mask that we wear on all the time.
Mm.
You have to take shelter of duplicity, because otherwise we can't protect this mask. So that's where this idea of duplicity, right? That we have to pretend.
And the most important quality is described in Bhakti is this quality of simplicity. So the opposite of duplicity is simplicity, where we are who we are, and we are comfortable presenting ourselves that.
Let's continue.
I think there's a sound coming.
I thought the duplicity
Yes.
meant.
Yes, Gregory?
Yes, sorry. I
No,
thought
that's
duplicity has to do with whether you're focused on what you're doing or not. If you're not focused, you're in a state of duplicity.
yeah.
Focused on what you're doing, it becomes simplicity.
Beautiful. I like that a lot, Gregory. That yes, when we are focused, right, on the activity that we are doing, and we do it with our full heart, then we don't have to pretend anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
and then there's no difference between our external manifestation and the internal state of being. They're aligned.
Okay, text 50.
Nakula Sahadevasya Yuyudhano Dhananjaya Bhagavan Devaki Putro Yachaneyasya Yoshitaha.
Nakul and Sahadev, the younger brothers of the king, and also Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of God and Lord Shri Krishna.
Satyaki.
Satyaki, oh sorry, this Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of God and Lord Shri Krishna, son of Devaki, and the ladies and all others all unanimously agreed with the king. So we see how here Draupadi, she's making a presentation, and there are so many devotees and the king and everyone's agreeing, but we are going to see some disagreement. How is that happening? If we are all following the same Siddhanta, the same principle, then where is the question of a difference of opinion? That cannot be. If there is a difference of opinion, that means that there must be something wrong.
Or somebody is not following it right.
Someone's not following it right.
Tatrahamarshito bhimastasya shreyan vadhasmita nabhartunatmanascharthe yohan suptansishun vitha.
Bhima, however, angrily disagreed with them and recommended killing this culprit who had murdered sleeping children for no purpose and neither his nor his master's interest. So here we see Bhima, so is Bhima somehow off because he's disagreeing, or is Draupadi off? Who's off?
And we see that initially Krishna also recommended killing him because he was an aggressor. An aggressor can be killed according to Dharma.
Right. So then what's going on here? See, the reason we're bringing this out is because we are going to encounter many such situations, even within our movement or anywhere else, where we will see that this person is wrong, this person is saying this person is saying that. Now, does it mean that one of them is right and one of them is wrong? And sometimes the ways of Dharma are not so straightforward, because one can see the arguments on both sides and say, yeah, makes sense, right?
Yeah, and that's why it says that the essence of Dharma is very hard to understand. We have to understand it from the behavior and words of a great devotee. Nishamya Bhima Gaditam Draupadascha Chaturbhuja Alokya Vadanam Sakyur Idam Aha Hasan Iva.
Chaturbhuja, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the words of Bhima, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling.
So here there's an interesting point here. Krishna is addressed as Chaturbhuja, the four-armed one. Normally Krishna is two-armed. He manifests his two-armed form. But here he acquires these two extra arms because he has to now hold Bhima, who is like really aggressive, he wants to kill. He has to hold Bhima with his extra two arms.
And I guess he's, why is he smiling? Let's read what Prabhupada says in
And
the
he began
end.
to speak as if smiling, Hasan Iva.
Hasan Ivan. Why? When Arjuna was perplexed about what to do with Ashwathama, Lord Shri Krishna, as a very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make a solution, and he was smiling also. Because Krishna is the Lord of all paradoxes, and all contradictions actually can be resolved in Krishna. So we in the material world, we get perplexed because for us, black is black, white is white, and the twain shall never meet, right? But for Krishna, he can, like Prabhupada says, sometimes people ask this question like, oh, can God create a stone that he cannot lift? And Prabhupada would say, yes, he can create a stone that he cannot lift, and then he can
You
lift
lift
it.
it.
Right? So Krishna can, so he's smiling because how do you now kill and not kill? Draupadi is saying don't kill. Krishna himself said kill. Bhima is saying kill. The Dharma Shastra says an aggressor should be punished. So what's the solution?
And Krishna is smiling because he knows that his devotee is going to make the right decision. He's also smiling in anticipation what Arjuna is going to do, or he already knows what Arjuna is going to do. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahma Bandhu Nahantavya Atatai Vadarahana Vadarhana Mayo Pabhayam Amnatam Paripahi Anushashanam Kuru Pratishutam Satyam Yatta Santvayata Priyam Priyam Cha Bhimasenasya Panchalya Mahyamevacha.
The personality of God, as Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed. Why is Krishna contradicting himself? But if he's an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife and you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasen and me.
So sometimes Krishna puts this extra burden on his pure devotees to decide so that everybody is satisfied.
I think Mother Teresa, she once said that God doesn't give anyone more than he can handle. And then she added a little note with that. She's like, I wish God would not trust me as so much. So here we see how Krishna is putting so much of trust. He's basically putting Arjuna in a spot and he's saying, okay, Arjuna, kill, but don't kill. Right?
At the same time, like Krishna can enter, Krishna is there as a super soul. He says, Dami buddhi yogam tam yena mamu priyantite. One who's fully surrendered to me, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me, also means by which they can satisfy me and everybody. So here, Krishna is going to give this intelligence to Arjuna within his heart to resolve this. How many pegs are there in this decision making? A friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is aggressor, he must be killed. So there are two conflicting things here. And he must fulfill promise to his wife. This is the third conflict. Fourth is satisfying Bhimasena, Yudhishthira, and him. So this is the fifth conflict.
You know what this is reminding me?
It's like a pentagon. He has to satisfy this conflict of pentagon.
This is reminding me of that lady of stipulations.
Yeah.
So many stipulations, right? But in the material world, she couldn't even hold up to one stipulation. But we'll see how, here we'll see all these stipulations being addressed.
Sutta uvacha Arjuna sa sagyaya hare hardam athasina manim jahara murdhanyam dujasya sah murdhajam.
Sutta Goswami said, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of the Lord by his equivocal orders, and thus with his sword, he severed both hair and jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. So let's read Prabhupada's purport here. Contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out. Therefore, a compromise was selected by Arjuna by his sharp intelligence, and he separated the jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. This was as good as cutting off his head, and yet his life was saved for all practical purposes.
So cutting off the hair is a sign of great insult. For a noble person, an insult is even worse than death. So Arjuna chose this route that he basically cut his hair and then severed the jewel. Ashwatthama he had a jewel in his head, and he was known for that. This jewel was very effulgent and bright. And so basically taking out the jewel means taking out all the opulence and possessions of Ashwatthama. So when you take somebody's possessions and also insult them at the same time, that's like as good as killing them. But he physically didn't kill him, that's why, and he kept the promises of Draupadi and Yudhishthira that they didn't want him to be killed. Vimuchya rasanabadham bala hatyahata prabham tejasa maninahinam shiviran niryapayat.
He, Ashwatthama, had already lost his bodily luster due to infanticide, and now, moreover, having lost the jewel from his head, he lost even more strength. Thus, he was unbound and driven out of the camp. This is actually a very, very, very important point, that when we engage in any activity that is not dharmic, then how we lose our bodily luster. So when we have to be so careful, right? Because our luster is there because of our activities, and every devotee, every person actually has their own lust, and we see that. When people are engaged in activities that are not conducive, then they just start looking so worn out, isn't it?
Yeah, anytime we do something adharmic, or when we don't treat um, uh, people who are saintly with the proper behavior, when we mistreat others, all these things, when we insult others, all these things, they take away our accumulation of our strengths, especially spiritual strength.
Text 57.
Vapanam dravinadanam sthana niryapanam tatha esha hi brahma bandhunam pado nanyosti dehikaha.
Cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishments for the relative of a Brahmana. There is no injunction for killing the body. Text 58.
Putra shokatura sarve pandava sah krishnaya swanam mritanam yat krityam chakru nirharanadikam.
Thereafter, the sons of Pandu and Draupadi, overwhelmed with grief, performed the proper rituals for the dead bodies of their relatives. Purport. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports for the first canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Son of Drona Punished.
So we finished the 7th chapter. Haribol.
Haribol, this is like exciting day. So we'll pause here, and now we have enough time today for a lot of questions, reflections, comments. Isn't that exciting? Huh? Now and the next chapter is going to be even super exciting, because
prayers of Queen Kunti are there. Chapter 9, prayers of Bhishma is there.
So
in chapter 10, Krishna leaves Hastinapur. So all these are very nectarian chapters where we'll see Krishna's intimate dealings with his devotees. And sometimes it may seem that he's just dealing with those devotees, but Krishna is ready to have the same dealings with us. We just have to kind of hear about him with open heart.
All right, so this is time now for some more churning. And so please speak up.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yesterday you talked about the 6 reasons, right? Why I should forgive that Ashwatthama, right?
Yeah.
Now is that action the Arjuna took, actually, let's take out that what do you call this, money?
The jewel. Yeah.
Well, so you talked that that insult is same as a death, right? So, but he's doing that insult, right, to the Ashwatthama, because before he's saying that the reason is because it is a Brahman Putra and this is my teacher's son and all other things, right? So I don't understand that he's doing insult, right? Why doing that, take out that jewel, and that is insult for him, right? And they're taking all appliances. Hope you can understand my question and a little bit.
He needs to be punished. What Ashwatthama has done is something really bad. He has behaved in a way that is very against the religious principles. He's behaved as an aggressor. And then he tried to kill Arjuna by throwing the Brahmastra, right? So all these actions are very abominable, and he needs to be killed. But at the same time, he can't be killed because he's a son of a Brahmana. So Arjuna Draupadi wants to forgive him, and Arjuna has done the same thing, insulting in the Kshatriya code, insulting somebody like this has happened many times.
Even
before.
It happens to Jayadratha.
Yeah, this has happened before in Mahabharata. Jayadratha, he kidnapped Draupadi once in the forest, and he tried to rape her. And finally, Jayadratha was captured, and Bhimsen wanted to kill him. But Yudhishthira was very merciful, says, no, he's our husband of our daughter, Duryodhana's daughter.
Yeah, sister. Right?
Duryodhana's sister, right? Yeah, Duryodhana's sister. So he should not be killed. So then they cut off his hair, and by insulting him, they cut off his hair and let him go. So for great personalities, the insult is actually worse than death. So there is forgiveness there. His life was spared, but at the same time, he needed to be punished. So both the things have been accommodated.
And he's not done yet. I mean, see, the thing is, this guy hasn't exited yet, right?
Yeah.
He's coming again in next chapter. So, but the thing is that it gives them, I guess they don't kill them physically, but then just that act of removing that jewel is considered to be as good as killing them.
And this was approved by Krishna. So this was a very satisfying solution that Krishna approved.
Hare Krishna. I have
Yes.
a very related follow-up question on this.
Yeah.
So, Yuddha Dharma is to be followed and applied on people who follow Yuddha Dharma. And here is Ashwatthama who killed 5 boys, young boys who were sleeping, right? So Arjuna lets go of him thinking that he's going to follow some Yuddha Dharma. He's going to feel insulted. Maybe he's going to become, he's not going to revolt on back on them. So basically letting go of someone like that who does not follow Dharma, apparently, can actually cause more harm, right? So there is no in between. I understand that it's a very conflicting situation. You cannot kill and not kill somebody at the same time. So possibly Arjuna here chose the middle path. But this is not end of all. So maybe I think you just gave us heads up that he's coming back again. So we know what's coming. So
this time he's coming back with 6 Brahmastras. So 1 Brahmastra for each of the Pandavas and 1 Brahmastra for Maharaj Parikshit who's in the womb. So he's coming back with a bigger vengeance. And I guess we'll deal with that in the next chapter.
And I guess the thing is, this is the thing that, like Prabhupada actually gives us, in that verse, there's a hint that he loses his luster.
Yeah.
So it's as good as being dead. When a person acts as an aggressor or acts in an inappropriate manner, then they lose their, because he obviously has some yoga bal. He has some strength as a result of being the friend of the son of a Brahmana, and he has received this training, right? But because he has not acted properly, so he's going to lose it all.
He's going to lose it all, but Ashwatthama is not like a lowly character. You see, Ashwatthama is an advanced soul, and Krishna is in many ways is using him to glorify his devotees. So in first instance, he uses him to glorify Draupadi and Arjuna, and again he's going to use him to glorify Uttara and Kunti. Ashwatthama finally, after the end of this all, he realizes what a rascal he has been. So he engages in austerities. And in the next Manvantara, where the next Manu will appear, Ashwatthama will become one of the 7 Saptarishis, along with Kripacharya. So Ashwatthama is still living. In the next Manu, when the Manu comes, the whole universal government changes. Ashwatthama and Kripacharya, both of them will become one of the Saptarishis. So he's not like a total rascal who needs to be killed. And Krishna has a purpose. So if he was killed, then somebody else has to take his slot.
Anybody else?
So nice to have you, Kiriti, join us. He's joining from Hyderabad. Thank you for joining, Kiriti.
Yes, Bhaktilata, go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
It's my pleasure.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Kiriti.
Yes, Bhaktilata, go ahead.
Yeah, I really like the last sentence. What Prabhu said, that Krishna, Krishna knows our, our past, present, future, everything. So where in the journey of this, like the soul, like which is us, like where we are going to be. So he is giving us the chance. That means Krishna is so merciful that if we can do that reformation, he's going to give us the chance, even though, like, not like some, I know in the scriptures also they say that if the by killing, like, the soul is being given a chance to be, to undergo the reformation. But in Ashwatthama's case, because Krishna knows that he's going to be reformed, just by by dishonoring him or something. So that much treatment is enough for him, for the soul.
Yeah. Very nice.
I really like that point. So if we are ready to accept that reformation, then the punishment also will be that much lesser.
It's a very good point, Bhaktilata. And this is actually something we'll see throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. How Krishna is continuously acting. Like for instance, Indra will become too big for his shoes. And again, Krishna will work with Indra, and he will, it's not going to be pleasant. It's going to be really difficult for his false ego, but Krishna will, prune. One of Krishna's work is constantly to prune us down, right?
Yeah.
So that we can grow.
Yeah, and Indra, he doesn't even punish him. I mean, if you'd imagine when the whole Govardhan pastime is going on, you'd think that Indra is going to get a big spanking now. But Krishna lets him go away just by some kind words, actually. So how Krishna deals with every individual is so unique. And sometimes he punishes, sometimes he
But I mean,
gives
there is
instructions.
right.
But Krishna always, he crushes the pride of his devotees. That's the bottom line. He says, Nija jana smaya dhansana smita. So smita means pride. So whoever are connected to Krishna in some way, Krishna is very active and proactive in crushing the pride. So I guess in our own spiritual life, we always very vigilant and careful. Are we becoming proud? And why increase Krishna's work, and why go through that process of going up and coming down? And what's the gain?
Actually, just yesterday in Manasiksha, I was just reading later, that how these 6 demons that Krishna kills, they all represent pride over something. Like Trinavarta represents pride over our knowledge, scholarship, and then Shaptasura, he represents like that. Each one of them, they represent something. And I was thinking, it's amazing, like so much time, right? And this is something that Krishna just doesn't tolerate. And so we see here also that but at the same time, there's also a silver lining, that he also doesn't let them go, right? That he's working with us and he's helping us, like sort of like, okay, here is where you need this, help. Whew, so much work.
So it's just like a student-teacher relationship. So the teacher will not let go of the student, even though he failed one test, the other test, second test, third test. But the teacher never leaves the student. So it's just the same thing, I guess.
Such a nice point.
From these examples, I also think that, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but I feel that then Krishna will act differently with different people in their situations. Like for each devotee also, Krishna will behave in a different way in their situations. Not for each person, the punishment or maybe the learning will be in a similar way. It won't be like that, I think, then. Because
it will be different. And even with the same person in different situations, Krishna may respond differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you see
like,
that,
for
right?
example, if I have some sorry, Madhusri.
No,
if
go ahead.
if I have some issue, negative issue, and if the same negative issue is present in another devotee, the outcome might be like the way Krishna will deal with me and the way he will deal with the other person will be very different, right?
It may be, yes. It may be very different. And this is something that Prabhupada talks about that in that particular purport to that verse, Tate Anukampam. He says that Krishna creates a customized plan, right? Just like an Ayurvedic doctor, they have all these different herbs, but based on your constitution, the Ayurvedic doctor will give you one particular combination that will work just for you. So it is very, very customized.
This is a nice example.
All right. So it's so wonderful, Archana, to have you here. You bring our remembrance of Vrindavan when you join.
Recently I just went to Govardhan last week. We started with the same thing, and I was doing the same thing. It was my first Govardhan parikrama, and there was a small girl, 8-year-old girl, who was helping me to do the parikrama. She often comes here to learn few things from me, so she was helping me, and every time I would ask her, "Kitna aur baki hai? How much is left?" Just half an hour, Didi, half an hour, just 1 hour. Yes, and for 2 hours it was not coming. So I can just relate to you what you just said.
All the Brajvasis that know the art of inspiring.
They really do. My God.
Brajvasi Vaishnavi. I thanked her at the end. Like, if you were not there, I wouldn't have been able to do my first Govardhan Parikrama. She was awesome.
We'll do the same with Bhagavatam now. We're just there. Don't worry.
Just one more chapter.
Just one more chapter.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just
I remember in the starting. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Shachi, yeah.
In the starting, when Prabhuji said, like, we are just there in Bhagavatam. So I remember the same thing. My father, like, when we went for Govardhan Parikrama, he was, and at the end, I was crying, no, I cannot do, I am done. And he told me, nahi, see, the temple is there, bas aage, ho gaya. And it took after then, and the time I cry, he tells me, "Sare wo rah, achha sach mein aa gaye." So it's just like, yeah.
I literally told her, "Where is your Radha Rani? I can't see her." Can you
Yeah.
tell me where is Radha Kund? It's just here.
Yeah, it's amazing. So this is talking about, for those that may not understand, they're talking about the circumambulating this great mountain. We'll talk about this pastime there and how, sometimes you get tired. But I was also thinking that just like when you do this Govardhan Parikrama, those that have done it, there are stretches that are just beautiful, and you feel like you're just walking through the sand, soft sand, and then suddenly you get to the Govardhan town and the cars honking, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, this is not the. So like that, even through the Bhagavatam, there'll be some stretches where we'll be like scratching our head and we'll be like, oh my God, this is a difficult section,
And some stretches where there are stones and it's like difficult to walk on them, especially in the hot sun.
Yeah.
So there will be sections where we might feel that.
But just stay with it. All right. So who's